Part 1. Chapter 1. The Long Game. From Fast Death to Slow Death. There comes a point where we need to stop just pulling people out of the river. We need to go upstream and find out why they're falling in. Bishop Desmond Tutu. I'll never forget the first patient whom I ever saw die. It was early in my second year of medical school, and I was spending a Saturday evening volunteering at the hospital, which is something the school encouraged us to do. But we were only supposed to observe, because by that point we knew just enough to be dangerous. At some point, a woman in her mid-30s came into the ER complaining of shortness of breath. She was from East Palo Alto, a pocket of poverty in that otherwise very wealthy town. While the nurses snapped a set of EKG leads on her chest and fitted an oxygen mask over her nose and mouth, I sat by her side, trying to distract her with small talk. "What's your name? Do you have kids? How long have you been feeling this way?" All of a sudden, her face tightened with fear, and she began gasping for breath. Then her eyes rolled back, and she lost consciousness. Within seconds, nurses and doctors flooded into the ER bay and began running a code on her, snaking a breathing tube down her airway and injecting her full of potent drugs in a last-ditch effort at resuscitation. Meanwhile, one of the residents began doing chest compressions on her prone body. Every couple of minutes, everyone would step back as the attending physician slapped defibrillation paddles on her chest, and her body would twitch with the immense jolt of electricity. Everything was precisely choreographed. They knew the drill. I shrank into a corner, trying to stay out of the way, but the resident doing CPR caught my eye and said, "Hey man, can you come over here and relieve me? Just pump with the same force and rhythm that I'm doing now, okay?" So I began doing compressions for the first time in my life on someone who was not a mannequin. But nothing worked. She died, right there on the table as I was still pounding on her chest. Just a few minutes earlier, I'd been asking her about her family. A nurse pulled the sheet up over her face, and everyone scattered as quickly as they had arrived. This was not a rare occurrence for anyone else in the room, but I was freaked out, horrified. What the hell just happened? I would see many other patients die, but that woman's death haunted me for years. I now suspect that she probably died because of a massive pulmonary embolism. But I kept wondering, what was really wrong with her? What was going on before she made her way to the ER? And would things have turned out differently if she had had better access to medical care? Could her sad fate have been changed? Later, as a surgical resident at Johns Hopkins, I would learn that death comes at two speeds, fast and slow. In inner-city Baltimore, fast death ruled the streets, meted out by guns, knives, and speeding automobiles. As perverse as it sounds, the violence of this city was a feature of the training program. While I chose Hopkins because of its excellence in liver and pancreatic cancer surgery, the fact that it averaged more than 10 penetrating trauma cases per day, mostly gunshot or stabbing wounds, meant that my colleagues and I would have ample opportunity to develop our surgical skills repairing bodies that were too often young, poor, black, and male. If trauma dominated the nighttime, our days belonged to patients with vascular disease, GI disease, and especially cancer. The difference was that these patients' wounds were caused by slow-growing, long undetected tumors, and not all of them survived either, not even the wealthy ones, the ones who were on top of the world. Cancer doesn't care how rich you are, or who your surgeon is, really. If it wants to find a way to kill you, it will. Ultimately, these slow deaths ended up bothering me even more. But this book is not about death. Quite the opposite, in fact. More than 25 years after that woman walked into the ER, I'm still practicing medicine, but in a very different way from how I had imagined. I no longer perform cancer surgeries or any other kind of surgery. If you come to see me with a rash or a broken arm, I probably won't be of much help. So what do I do? Good question.